Mr. Lyle.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
What's on my mind?
Yes.
Brenda is on my mind.
Tell me about Brenda.
A couple of other people are on my mind as well.
Am I on your mind? Did I do something?
You're always on my mind.
Oh,
You're
okay.
always on my mind. I wanted to address a couple of comments that came into the chat because this channel is very much built on the idea of transparency and on, truthfully, me just being me. And sometimes there are some comments that come through, and I try to just ignore negative comments, or I just try to respond in sort of no, we're not going to talk about that kind of a way. But every now and then there's some comments that come in. I find them to be very out of left field and hard to wrap my mind around.
Sure.
Okay. And the reason for this is because I think as objectively as I can about what I'm doing in my videos and how we interact with the community and all this kind of stuff.
Right.
And I try to understand, well, what could have been taken a certain way, or what did I say, or what did I do that maybe somebody took away something from it. And I do this constantly because I just hyper evaluate everything in life. She'll tell you I'm just obsessive about detail about everything in life. Which is probably why I create the recipes that I do, because it's the way that I view the world. But sometimes I get these comments that I cannot figure out what could have possibly led to this. And if it's only once, I kind of go, oh, well, that was weird and whatever. But when it happens a few times, it makes me realize that although I don't believe I'm doing anything to cause that, there is something that needs to be addressed.
Sure.
And this is one of those cases.
Okay.
Especially because you now being more involved on this side of the camera with the channel, right? This is something that could potentially come up again and again and again and again, and I suppose, depending on how insistent someone wanted to be about this. So there were a few comments that were made. A couple of them are fairly easy to address. And then another one is a whole other world, and we'll get to that in a second. But the first couple is I had a couple of different people who basically, chastising would be a good word, I believe, for the way that they commented. They chastised me, as it were, for interrupting you or over-talking you or not leaving enough space in the room for you or these kinds of things. And it had a very, here's us girls over here defending Ash, and you're the guy, the man who is unaware and bad in the situation. It had that kind of a tone, which was weird to me because I've never wanted to set any kind of a tone about, I'm all about the men or I'm all about the women. I don't care what gender you are.
Sure.
I don't care what sexuality you'd identify as. I don't care what your religious beliefs are. That's not why this channel is here.
Yeah.
All of that kind of conversation, that's a completely different world than what Chris Cooking Nashville is about.
Sure.
So it really kind of caught me off guard because I had a couple of these comments come in from a couple of ladies saying that I was not leaving space for you in the room and that I was interrupting you and it was rude and it was uncomfortable to watch and these kinds of things. And Ash will tell you, I actually, after I saw these comments, I went to her and the very first thing I did was I asked her, did I interrupt you and not leave space for you in the room? Do you feel this way? Do you whatever? And your reaction was?
My reaction was, what the hell are you talking about?
Right.
I didn't quite understand that, and I've never felt that way. Also, I know a lot of folks maybe haven't met Chris and I in person or seen how we interact as a couple. But just to be clear, I did not feel that way in any way, shape, or form. I honestly feel like in our marriage, especially, if I need something from Chris or if I feel a certain way, I really don't play games. I don't mess around. It's if I did feel that way, I would straight up tell him hey, you're kind of in my space and I need blah, 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 or whatever it is I needed. And I have done that for as long as we've been together, just communicated to you what I need or what I feel or what the deal is. And he does the same with me, vice versa. It is called Chris Cooking Nashville. It is not called Ash Cooking Nashville. And truthfully, the only reason why I really got involved is helping you with like filming videos and taste testing and, you know, just trying to be like a supportive wife and encourage you in what you were doing and and whatnot. And then as things have kind of gone on and now I get to sit next to you in front of the camera, you know, it's like I've enjoyed getting to do that. And I love our community and I love what we've built. But I'm also like, this isn't my show. I also think that you and I have been through a lot together. We've been a couple for 6 years. We're actually going to celebrate our 3rd wedding anniversary here in just a few weeks. And we have literally been through everything together. I mean, we've lost homes, job, the pandemic. We actually got married in the middle of a pandemic. I mean, if you name probably anything just crazy that can happen to someone in a relationship, I mean, we've probably been there. We've done it. But we've done it together and we've never argued we're very just open and honest with each other because we have been through so much together. I would like to think those concerns came from a good place. I'm just hanging out, but in no way, shape, or form do I feel like you're not leaving room or space. But I also think that we are very connected and a very strong couple and we're blessed to have a really good marriage. So I think sometimes when you and I are sitting here at our dining room table, talking a bunch, you know, and we're doing our thing, a lot of the time I think you and I just feed off of each other and we can finish each other's sentences and we go back and forth. And it's not that in any way I think that you're like overpowering me or interrupting, and I probably honestly interrupt you more than you interrupt me. but you know, it's like I think it's just us feeding off of each other and knowing what the other is thinking, or like he'll start to make a point and then like I get really excited and so we, you know, it's just us feeding off of each other. I also think like when we edit videos, we try to make them shorter or as short as possible because we don't want a lot of dead space in our conversations or in our recipe videos because that's boring for you guys watching. Like we try to value your time that you spend watching videos.
It also tanks the video performance, which tanks the YouTube channel, which means I wouldn't have the time or the viewership or the resources necessary to keep doing this. So it's a game you have to play to succeed at this.
So to make my point though, Chris does not overrun me, talk over me. I always like to think that everyone has the best of intentions until proven otherwise. And I know that there are a lot of guys out there though that maybe that would be their case, and nothing against them. I probably dated all of them. How many times am I supposed to blink if something's wrong?
Apparently twice, I guess. I don't know.
You're just like start blinking crazy. There's a reason why I married Chris because, you know, he's top notch, but Chris has just such a big heart and he's such a good person. And I think that if you actually got to know him as a person and not just what you see every week, you know, in front of a camera making you a recipe, I think that it would you'd probably feel kind of dumb to even like think or insinuate that. Also, I think it's really crazy because we've kind of talked about this before, and not to like overshare, but it's not really a secret that like my dad is, you know, a total piece of shit and is, you know, in and out of jail. And, you know, I had a terrible childhood and was abused and all this stuff. I've been homeless twice. Like I've been through a lot of stuff. And I never thought I was going to get married because I never thought that I could find someone that would basically put up with me, I guess, for lack of a better term. But I mean, you know, it's like I had a lot of demons I had to face and a lot of issues. And I would need to marry someone who was very, very loving and who was very, very patient, that would understand all these things and all these quirks. Then I met Chris, and like I said, I did not plan on getting married. But, you know, we met, and it's like you have really helped me face a lot of demons and overcome a lot of things and become a better version of myself and all these things. And you've done it all by providing for me, being just super kind, super patient. And it's like you've done all these things. And so for me, when I hear someone make a comment like he's overpowering you or he's whatever, I'm just like, you clearly just don't know him and you don't know anything about us and our relationship or how we work together. And so even if that came from a good place, I kind of think I understand why you would be bothered by that, and I kind of was too, is because it's like if you only knew who you're talking about, it's, I think, kind of offensive. Also, I've seen many a marriage like falling apart, and I think a huge reason for that is basically letting other people meddle in your business. And so I kind of come to the opinion, we know each other. We're doing our thing. We're trying to help other people, and we are public figures, and we love that, and we're totally cool with that. And it's like, it's one thing if you want to even call us fat or whatever. I mean, the comments we get are a mile long, and not all of them clearly are bad. We have so many great people, and we don't want to focus on the negative. But I do think that it's just important to address, though, that it's like our marriage is not up for debate or criticism, and you just don't know who we are. You've never even met us in person. You've never seen how we interact. You don't know who we are or our story. So to go on and claim that you're overpowering me or you're whatever, it's like Chris knows that's not the case. And he jokes all the time that I would, kick his butt if that was the case. And it's true because
it's not a joke.
No, it's not a joke.
It's not a joke.
It's not a joke. But I think that just, again, goes back to like, well, I grew up in a certain way and fought really hard to overcome things and was like, man, I went through all of this stuff and I never want to have a marriage like that or go back to it.
Right.
So I'm in no way controlled or manipulated, and we just have a relationship that is literally focused on just love and respect and partnership and friendship.
Right.
And I think if people are going to go on and make assumptions, though, it's just frankly not their place. I mean, it's not their marriage, it's not their relationship.
I think a really good example of this kind of thing, when I say like she'll kick my butt, and I'm going to tell on myself a little bit here. When we were first together, when we first started dating, I really had this idea of I'm going to marry this woman and she's going to be great. And she was not very sure about that at all.
No, I was not.
She really was not sure she wanted me around. And it took some time for me to prove myself. And one of the conversations we had is one of the hardest things I think I've ever heard in my life, and yet one of the best things she ever did, because I was struggling. I was a struggling musician that didn't have steady work, and I was basically almost 400 pounds, and I was super irritable, and I mean like all these different kinds of things, and I just was not doing good things with my life. And I mean, she actually had stepped in and like helped me out when I ended up with like a bad roommate situation. I wasn't sure like where I was going to end up living, and she was, she helped me out. There's a lot of things I've changed about myself since then. I'm not that person.
You're a different, way different person.
Yes, all of the things I always wanted to be were there, but I struggled so hard to take those things and get them out.
Right.
Like they were so buried by my weight and my diet and just all of these things in my life. And she really was supportive and understanding and kind and graceful. And I appreciated that. And so I was going to marry this woman and she wasn't sure. And we sat down and she had this conversation with me, and she basically said, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she basically said, if you want to marry me, then you need to prove that I should marry you, because why would I ever expect you to take care of me when you can't even take care of yourself? Man, that hit hard. And it was really important for me to hear. So if my wife has an issue with something I'm doing, she'll sit me down and tell me.
Yeah.
And I respect her enough that I'll listen. And so the response that I had to a couple of these comments that came in that were starting to do this kind of stuff, and the reason that I'm addressing it publicly at all, is because one, I want people to know what our marriage and our relationship is actually based on, so that it's like, this is not like, oh, Chris, runs his household with an iron fist and expects you to do all of this kind of stuff. It's not the way this works here. We are a partnership and equal in all things. The thing that I said to these people who made these comments, and this is something really important, it is not just about us, it's about other people in anyone's life.
Sure.
Someone else's marriage and someone else's relationship, like if I was abusing her, I would expect people would get involved. But beyond something where I'm like I'm not harming her, nothing is going on that would indicate that there's some need for people to like intervene in anything. Our marriage is our thing to deal with. And although we are YouTubers and have a public image, and we're musicians, so we have that part of the public image too, it doesn't mean that our private life is up for everybody else to pick apart and choose how they think it should be addressed and what they think I should do, and how I'm not a good husband doing this or how you're not a good wife doing that. That's not up for debate here. That's not anybody else's business. And the thing that I said to these people was, please stop trying to drive a wedge in between the two of us when no wedge is existing there already. Like there's no problem between us.
I kind of didn't understand, because I feel like, one, you're kind enough to include me in your YouTube channel and let me be a part of what you're doing, which I'm very honored and flattered by. And I love getting to like connect with people, and like, I mean, we have fun doing this. Like we really enjoy it, and it's very fulfilling. And we love that you all are here watching. And so, I mean, this is cool. So this is why we're happy to be open and honest and share our lives. But I honestly feel like I got a pretty great gig here. Basically, like, I kind of like do my camera stuff, and, you know, I help you plan, and I do your social media, and like, so we're very involved. But then it's like, you make me some yummy, tasty carnivore treat, and I eat it. And that's my job. And it's like, how do you think he's mistreating me? Like, have you tasted this bread, or, you know, the mac and cheese? Like, let me go down the list of recipes. I'm like, I feel like you're literally just feeding me super tasty, yummy, nutritious food that I get to eat every week. It's like, yeah, he's really an asshole to me. Like, I'm quite happy. I was like, I didn't feel that way at all. I was just kind of sitting there eating my whatever it was that week we were cooking, and it was great.
I think we have an interaction that most people admire and look up to based on the comments in the videos that we do that I normally get. A majority of people actually talk about how much they respect the marriage that we have, and how much they can tell how much we love each other, and how great of a team we make, and how inspiring that is, especially in younger people, because a lot of my viewers are older.
Sure. Well, I think we strive to be that way. And like, you know, talking about like taste testing and stuff too, you know, Chris and I have a relationship, and this is actually one of the things I really love about it, and we're never mean or harsh, but like, there have been points in my life where I have not been doing my best at something, and Chris will very lovingly kind of tell me, hey, I don't think you're doing the best you can. And to me, that pushes and motivates me, and he comes and he helps me, and it's like, you know, you solved this problem, or you did this thing, or, you know, you're improving. And just like with recipes, you know, like, I do taste test most of your recipes, but how many times have you tested something and I've tasted it and said, I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah. And
then you go back into the kitchen, but it's like, you know, it's like, I don't lie to you and say a recipe is great if it's not.
Right.
And you're very honest with me, being like, hey, you know what? I think this is good. I know you can do better. I know that you are capable and worth more. And so I think you should push yourself. I think you got this. And it's like, that is very much what our relationship is.
Yeah.
It's not like I don't want to say I don't like this because it will upset him, or, I mean, we have a very blunt and honest relationship with each other, but it's also very just based in love and respect. And that's actually one of the many reasons why we ended up getting married, is because it's like, we just push each other to be the best versions of ourselves, and we do everything together, and we're a team, and it's just one of the beautiful things. But
absolutely.
I also think that's why we're very defensive. Like, if someone wants to come in and start putting a wedge between the two of us, it's like, good luck there, honey, because we've been through some things together, and it's like, that's a hard thing.
We've been through enough difficult situations where we thought we were going to lose everything, and the only thing we had was the two of us working together.
And when we literally lost everything, our jobs, our home, I mean, we have really, if you knew anything about our story, been through the ringer.
The fact we didn't end up homeless and or moving back in with my parents was a miracle.
It's a miracle. Well, and we did all this while getting married, and like, you know, the pandemic and all of that. But we made a pact with each other, which is basically that we would not fight and butt heads no matter how stressful things got, and we always worked together, and we figured it out. And so, you know, I mean, that's our marriage. And I don't know anything about the person that made these comments and all that, but I think it's great we're addressing it. But I just think that share things with people, but don't come in here and you know, don't try to put a wedge between us, because it won't work.
I think it's just an important concept for anyone who's watching these kinds of videos, and these people who make these kinds of comments may or may not ever see this type of video. But if they do, hopefully it makes them consider what it is they're about to say before they actually try to go in the comment section and stir up trouble. More importantly, if I get comments like that again in the future, I'll probably send them the link to this video, and that'll be my only response. But this entire channel is based on the transparency of this is who we are and this is what we do. I've shown you every recipe that I can come up with that it's like, this is food I love to eat. Like, I don't put it out as a recipe if we don't eat it. And if I try it and it doesn't work, and it's like, nah, we don't really want to eat that, I don't put that recipe out. Like, we go, nope, back to the drawing board, that doesn't work. So every food that I show you, the recipe works. I give you all the ingredients, and I give you the recipes for free, because I don't think you should have to pay to get behind some kind of a paywall to get to my main recipes I'm doing. My weight loss, and now Ash's health and my health, and like what we're doing, that is all here on YouTube for everyone to see, week by week by week. You can literally go to my first health vlog and watch it one after another in order, and you can watch me get skinnier on YouTube. You can, over the last year, see me getting
it's quite the
thinner,
change,
and
man.
it's a
Quite
big
the
change.
change,
And I had
yeah.
already lost a bunch
Yeah.
when I first started.
Right.
So it's like, you can see the change, and that's why I did that, because I wanted that not only for me, but for anyone else who wants to see it. You can see all of that. All of the transparency of how this all works is there. It is all there. It will always be there. And so I really felt like this is one of those things where our relationship is part of what Chris Cooking Nashville is, because I can't do any of this without her. I've never done anything successful with Chris Cooking Nashville or my music or any of these things that I do not very much value her input in. Everything that I tried to do before I knew Ash failed. Everything. And not that I didn't put in hard work, and not that I didn't have successes along the way, but truly being who I am, what I do, and being good at the things that I'm good at, and knowing what's important to me in my life, a lot of that is very much because of either her support or her inspiration that made me want to be what I had always said I wanted to be. Because she deserves that. She deserves for me to be the best that I can be. And it drove me to fix a lot of things in my life that needed to be fixed, and to go on what is now a journey of keto and carnivore to figure out, like, well, what do I need to do to take care of myself so that I can always be there for her and be the best that I can be.
Right.
It is the strongest, short of my faith, it is the strongest driving force in my life of all the decisions that I make. And I think it's important, the transparency of my channel, for you guys to understand that. And that's why, if you see me in the comments respond to somebody if they're trying to drive a wedge between my wife and I, that's why I'm so defensive of that. Because I protect my house, I protect my family, I protect my marriage, and I protect my community. Because I love you guys, I love my wife, I love my dog, I love the life we've built.
Yeah.
And I stand up to protect that, because as a husband, that's my job. That is my calling, that is my duty. And if she can't rely on me to be that, then what's the point? She should have stayed single if I can't do those things. I just think it needs to be addressed, because it's important for the transparency, for you guys to understand who we are, and for you to understand why Chris Cooking Nashville is the kind of channel that it is, and why I'm so transparent, why I don't hide things. I don't give you guys some like professional image on YouTube that's not who I am in real life.
Yeah.
Who I am online is exactly who I am in real life. I'm just in the kitchen and doing my Chris Cooking Nashville thing with it. Like the camo and the denim. That's what I wear when I'm not on video too. Like,
I can attest to this.
That's what I do, you know? Like
right.
I legitimately am a guitar player. Like all the guitars and everything that are around the house, and
they're not props.
Music stuff in the kitchen. Like, no, they're not props. They're my instruments that I play. You know, this food that I cook for the recipe videos, that's what we're having for dinner that night. Like, that is the whole philosophy behind this channel, and it's very important to me, and it's something that I feel like it bears defending.
Yeah.
Because it's worth it. There's one of the things that I have been told by so many people in comments is that they appreciate the realness that we have, that we put forth. They appreciate just the openness about what we're going through, how we talk about all of this kind of stuff, and how we try to inspire other people with it. What's the point of knowing the right thing if you don't frickin' do it? It doesn't matter how hard it is. There is no reason that I would not do what I believe to be the right thing in those situations.
Yeah.
And in these kinds of situations, the right thing is letting people know what's actually going on in our lives, because I've promised to do that on this channel. I've told you guys I will do that, so here I am doing it. That's why this stuff needs to be addressed. So now, those are the ones that are a little more difficult to talk about, just because there's a lot of complexity. There's one that was just very like, and that was, apparently I'm not supposed to call you my lovely wife.
Yes.
Because that's an insult, and
Yes.
that's a put down.
Yes.
So addressing the fact that she is my wife publicly as one, an element of respect of the fact that I'm very open and honest about the fact that I am a married man in all situations. And this goes way beyond YouTube. This is like anyone that we meet in regular life. As a musician, you know, you meet people of all different kinds from all over the place, all over the world, and you travel and you do all this kind of stuff. Everyone, if I ever feel like I need to make sure they know, everyone's going to know I'm married. And not only am I married, I am not interested in whatever it is you think I might want to be interested in. Not that that's really an issue that I've ever had. But should I ever end up in a situation where I do have that issue, I'm a married man and I am betrothed to my wife and my wife only. So when I say my lovely wife, one, I'm giving her the respect of saying that she is my wife publicly, because there's only one person in the world that holds that title. But two, I'm calling her lovely because to me, she is the most beautiful thing that I have ever seen.
Aww.
And every single time I say that, I mean it just as much as I did the very first time I ever said it. And I don't know how you make the leap to get to the point where me calling you my lovely wife is an insult or a put down, but apparently that was supposed to be me putting you down and insulting you. So I guess I'm sorry for respecting you as my one and only partner and spouse in life, and I guess I'm sorry for telling people that I think you're beautiful.
Yeah,
so,
I know you're being sarcastic, but don't apologize.
Yes.
Yeah, I personally, I think most women can relate to me. I think it's really nice when your husband says that you're pretty or calls you lovely or beautiful or whatever the case may be. I like being said, you know, being called pretty. I like being called your wife, clearly. And I like taste testing the yummy recipes that you make. I in no way find that insulting or anything of the sort. I have zero issues with that, and I never have. But again, it's like, I always just try to think that maybe everyone comes at everything with a good place.
Yeah.
I have no idea, but it's just one of those things where I don't really understand why, because I feel like you also introduce me that way so often. I don't know why this past time that for whatever reason this now became an issue when you've done it for so long. But
Brenda was upset.
Well, I can't control how other people feel, but being his wife, I like being called lovely. I like being called pretty and beautiful, and I have zero problems with any of this, and I didn't know that this was an issue or a problem.
Yeah.
So I
don't know.
I mean, you could be like, hey you, hey dummy, taste these mashed taters.
Come over here, you stupid, ugly pain in my butt.
Yeah. You could say some other words too that the camera wouldn't like. But you know what I mean? It's like, now see, that I would have a problem with.
Right.
Then I'd have to shut the camera off and beat you up.
Right.
But like I said, I try to think everyone has just good intentions. But just to clarify, to me, honestly, I have no problem being called your lovely wife. I think that's very sweet and endearing. And I have zero problems with any of this, guys. I'm just trying to not eat carbohydrates and just trying to film videos, and I'm just trying to keep my own little self together over here. And I didn't know that any of these were issues, but I'm glad we addressed it, and hopefully it gives people insight.
I agree. I think one of the things that for me is sometimes difficult as a YouTuber, we sometimes are expected to be very perfect and immune to everything that goes on. And when these things bother you, or when they weigh on your mind, or when they pop up in the comments section or whatever, like we're told that you should ignore it, you should not let it bother you, don't engage in that kind of stuff, you know, these sorts of things. And within a certain reason, I definitely understand that. You know, you don't want to spend your entire time in the comments section arguing with people, and you definitely don't want to have to make multiple videos where you're complaining about stuff and you know, being one of those kinds of people. But truthfully, this video, I guess, is a little bit of a therapy session for me as a YouTuber, because there's a lot of stress that goes along with doing this.
I kind of mentioned this in a previous health vlog. I just don't think people realize how much work and how much time you put into your recipes and to your channel. Like, you basically are doing 2 to 3 videos a week. I mean, you, on top of working all your other jobs right now, you easily put in, probably on a slow week, 50 to 60 hours into YouTube. You reply to every comment. If someone tries a recipe and they have any questions or trouble, you answer it. I mean, you at least do 2 to 3 videos, you film them, edit them, you're creating the recipes, you have your recipe cards on your website, you have all the stuff you're doing, you do a Tuesday night live stream. I mean, like, you're a very, very busy person, and you do all this, and it's not like you're making a gazillion dollars or whatever. You're literally just trying to help people. And so I think just people sometimes go into things thinking that you have ulterior motives, or, oh, well, he must be this way or something, and they just don't know you, and they just don't know that's the case. And so I think I understand why it gets under your skin, because you're literally pouring your heart and soul into something to help somebody, and in return they're kind of just throwing salt in your wound for no reason.
It can be very taxing, would be a good word, to try to do all of those things. And I don't mind the work. I don't mind the late nights. I don't mind the long hours. I don't mind the expense. I don't mind the different things it takes to do this. It can be very difficult, though, to do all of that and try to focus on the positives and the people that, you know, say that you changed their life and like all that kind of stuff. It can be so difficult to focus on all of that stuff when a few negative comments ring so loudly, and then you feel like if you were like everybody else that would bother them, then somehow you're failing as a YouTuber. Because, well, you just got to deal with it. And it's like, yeah, you do. I mean, you have to be prepared to deal with it, but that doesn't mean that you're not allowed to feel something about it.
Sure.
And I think that, especially because, again, this channel is built off of transparency, it's like, well, this is how I feel about these kinds of comments, and although I don't want to have a knee-jerk reaction and fly off the handle, it doesn't change the fact that it's like you pour everything of yourself into something and then somebody wants to tear it down. Or someone only sees the one thing about it that they think wasn't right. My bread is actually a good example of this. I put out the bread recipe video, and it was like, what, 8 months that it took me of like working on this recipe, researching it, practicing, doing all this stuff. And then once I finally had like, okay, here's kind of my method based on these other experiments I've done, this is what I'm going to try, what I'm going to use. It took me several tries of refining the final version of that until I got the final version where it was right. And I put it out, and immediately one of the questions or the comments that I got was, why does it look yellow? And it's like, because it's in studio lighting that has a slight yellow tint to it, because I do all of my own color correction. And if you try to push one color farther than another when it comes to digital video, you can actually make it look really weird if you try to push it too far. So the bread being white in a background of all of these darker colors, it's easy for that to start to have a slight yellow cast, because otherwise you get too much shine, and it's a lot of technical stuff. But that's another thing that I spend a lot of time learning how to do. And it's like, so I spend 8 months developing a recipe, and I spend multiple versions of that final version of the recipe to get it just right. And we filmed the video, and I spent probably 10 hours editing that video in total to get that all done. And I put it out, and it's like, why does it look yellow? That sucks. And I'm not saying that because I'm complaining about it. That's just me being transparent of, that's the stuff as a YouTuber you deal with. And you put everything you have into something, but there are people out there that are looking for any little thing that they can possibly point out that's not right. And it's the only reason they're in the comments. And I try to ignore that the best that I can. But there are some days when certain ones are just very difficult to not think about, and when it's things like how I am treating my wife on camera, those are very difficult for me to figure out how to just ignore. Because then I immediately start to question, am I doing something wrong? Did I say something that made her feel this way? And then that turns into a conversation where we sit and talk about it, and then it's like, and now it's turned into a video where we're addressing this, and it's like, you know, and all of this truthfully goes back to this thing of like mental health on keto and carnivore, and mental health as a YouTuber. I mean, like, these are things that for me, it's this situation about YouTube. For you guys, it's going to be someone who's making a comment about your weight, or someone who's calling you crazy for your diet, or someone, I mean, I don't know. What are the things in your life where you feel this pressure too, because I know I'm not the only one. This is not something that is unique to me. This is something everyone goes through. I just have a public platform where I'm talking about it right now. But it's important to talk about this kind of stuff. So what are you guys going through? What are people doing that make you just feel like you want to sit and focus on something negative like that? Like, if you want to talk about it, you can talk about it to us here.
Yeah.
I mean, as you can tell, I go through it. And like I said, this video is kind of a therapy session for me a little bit, because I did really truly question for a moment, am I doing something wrong? Like, does my wife feel like I'm talking over top of her and like I'm trying to take some spotlight, or I don't know, whatever crazy place my brain could go to. I thought that for a moment, and this is why I immediately went to her and we talked about it.
This is the thing I find that happens if you don't, like, what if you didn't talk to me about it?
Right. What if we didn't have the relationship where I could? Right.
And so what if you just like held on to that? And then what if I did for some reason feel like you were acting that way?
And you didn't feel like you could tell me?
Right. And then it builds and it festers and the whole thing, and then it explodes in your face. And it's like bad habits and toxic traits. And we clearly understand that in, the keto and carnivore world. That's why we're trying to get rid of our old bad eating habits and do this. And mental health is just that way too.
Yeah.
So we talk about it, we discuss how we feel, we address it, and we move on. But it is definitely worth the importance of taking the time to talk about it and to express your feelings and emotions. Whether you're a YouTuber or just someone trying to get their health back and in order. I mean, this is very important stuff.
Yeah. Also, to be fair, I actually wasn't going to do this video. This was Ash who said, I can tell it's bothering you because you've made comments about it. Do you want to do this video and just get it out of the way? And I was like, yeah, maybe we should do that. And she's like, yeah, I think you need to address it because it's very clearly bothering you. And it was not because I thought there was truth to it, but because it's, again, my reputation online is all based on the transparency of the fact that everything is real. And it's like, okay, well, if this is bothering me and this is something that I feel like I'm not doing anything wrong and I've talked to you about it, but yet I'm still focused on, well, what if this is being taken this way or these kinds of things, or what if I get a bunch more comments like that, whatever. Just your brain can go so many different places. But if that's weighing on my mind, I can't be transparent.
No.
And also not address that. It's like, you've got to address those things, get it off of your mind so that you can then focus on the work you're actually here to do. And that's what we're here to do. So I wasn't necessarily going to really do a specific video for this, but
it needed to happen. It needed to happen. Well, and I can already tell you feel a lot better. You got it off your chest. You've addressed it. And I think it's good. I think it's very good. I think it's very positive.
Guys, I'm far from perfect. I really am. And I'm certainly not capable of going through my entire life without something ever bothering me again. It's not realistic. It's not realistic for me. It's not realistic for any of you. It's just not realistic for any human being on the planet that something is never going to bother you again. I think it's important to find healthy ways to deal with it. And honestly, having your diet in check and not having a bunch of brain fog makes that a lot easier, which is why now I would do something like this where we address it this way, as opposed to, say, 4 or 5 years ago, something like this, I would have focused on it and let it fester for 6 months, and then I would have blown up and, something in some frustration and, whatever, and just craziness. So you guys have to take care of yourselves and address the things in your life that are bothering you and find a healthy way to do it. But, it's okay to need a little bit of extra support. It's okay to need to get some stuff off your chest like I needed to.
It's actually part of healing. It's part of health. It's good. It is.
Absolutely, because your body can't do it without your mind.
Well, and if you think about it, if you hold on to something and you're thinking about it and you're not sleeping and you're going over and over in your head, it creates stress. It creates tension, not just, in your body, in your relationships and all these things. Raises your cortisol. What happens? You're holding on to weight, water. You're it's like you're putting strain on your body, and that's why the mind and mental health is just so important. So I'm glad we did this. Good job.
I did it.
Yay.
Thank you guys if you've made it this far in this video for listening and just giving me a place where I can just get stuff off my chest with a group of people that are very important to me, because you guys are important to me. That's why I care about what you all think. It's not that I need some elevating or some validation that I'm worthwhile as a human being from you all, but I know that I have a duty to try to put out good information because I've promised that I'm going to, and I have a duty to be transparent because I promised that I would, and that matters to me. The fact that I promised to be that for you guys, I don't want to ever stop being that for you. And so this was something that has weighed on my mind a little bit, and I appreciate y'all listening and letting me just talk about it. I appreciate your support, and I know there will probably be comments under this video that I'm so sorry and you're not like that, and the people who are showing their support for me, I appreciate that, and y'all are wonderful. I'm not worrying about, like beating myself up over it or thinking that these people that said this were right. It's just more the fact that it was said, and it's like, but how do you express this, or how do you get this off your chest if you have a real public image where it's like you don't want to focus on it, but I also don't want to sit there and have not said anything and then wonder if other people feel the same. So it's a weird balancing act to have a really public channel with lots of people that watch what you do and then still try to figure out how to address these things. So that's really weirder and harder about this than anything else, was just like, how do we address this? How do I say something about this, just to make sure people really understand who Ash and I are and where we lie with all this. So thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for letting me get some stuff off my chest and do something good for my own mental health here, because I have to take care of my health and my mental health as much as I'm trying to help you guys take care of yours. So thank you to my lovely wife. That's not an insult. To my lovely wife for being here. This is Miss Ash Taylor, the most beautiful woman that I've ever seen. And I just appreciate her and her support and being a part of my videos and us doing this whole thing together. So we appreciate all of you guys. Make sure to take care of yourselves mentally and physically. Eat your meat. Love your life. This is Chris Cooking Nashville, and we'll see you right here at the dining room table for therapy sessions and maybe some health vlogs, and we'll see you in the kitchen for the next recipe.
What do you want to do then? You want to talk about the Brendas real quick?
Yeah, we'll talk about those real quick.
Let's talk about the Brendas.
Sure.
All right. Mwah.